guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and we know they are really groovy.
Why, hello, here I am. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another version of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal, that would be me, Renee Yaworsky, talking movies. And today the two guys decided they were going to talk all about Sally Field, which I'm excited about because I grew up with Sally Field in her career. She's absolutely iconic. She's very quotable. She has an amazing range. She plays feisty characters, firebrands, matriarchs who are very dignified. Her career has been so long. She's been everything from cute to elegant to powerful. And she's just a really striking presence. And she's also noted as being a very kind person. She has a really, really good reputation. Sorry, couldn't say that. Reputation in Hollywood, which is kind of rare for somebody who's that successful. Her memoir that came out a few years ago was called In Pieces, which was a double entendre because she used flashpoints in her life to talk about her ascent and her also personal journey. But she also detailed a lot of abuse that took place in childhood and even early on in her career. Many different people taking advantage of her and even outright abusing her, which is something that took a lot of courage for her to talk about because we don't tend to think of her as having to struggle with those types of things behind the scenes. She's a very fresh-faced person. She's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and she's really an icon of Hollywood. So the guys are going to dig deep today. They have their lists ready. Maybe you guys have your lists ready. Make sure you comment and let us know what your favorite Sally Field moment is. And without further ado, here is your creator, Manny Zamora, and co-host, Rory Penland. Hi, guys.
Yay!
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, Gidget and the Flying Nun went on to become an Academy Award-winning actress. Who would have thought?
Exactly. Yep. And that's funny you should say that because that is one of my earliest memories of Sally Field is her as the Flying Nun, Sister Patril.
Yep.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, I think that's the genesis of my nun fetish now. So,
Okay.
which no, I'm not going to talk about that.
I wanted to become a nun. I almost became a nun. So
I could totally see you in a
yeah,
hat.
I need to get one of the little hat things and
Yeah.
in like them.
Yeah, of course, I couldn't become a nun. I have too many bad habits. Anyway.
Oh, he went there.
I did go there.
He did it. I'm crying. Thank you, Manny. Thank you.
I think the beard would be a dead giveaway.
The beard,
Manny,
yeah.
I have something to say to you, Manny. I
Yes.
like you. I like you. I really like you.
We really like you.
We really like you.
I would have thanked
The
you.
infamous speech.
Yes.
She
have that,
meant
man.
it. It was from her heart. She meant it. She
Yeah,
was so happy
exactly.
that she got the award, and man, the media just jumped all over it and just turned it into something sour.
Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things, people.
We can't have nice things.
Manny wanted us to include it at the top of the show, so should I play it now?
Yeah.
All right, let's
I owe a lot to my family for holding me together and loving me and having patience with this obsession of me. But I want to say thank you to you. I haven't had an orthodox career, and I've wanted more than anything to have your respect. The first time I didn't feel it, but this time I feel it, and I can't deny the fact that you like me. Right now, you like me.
I like the look on John Malkovich's face like, no, we don't. We really don't. It's just his face going, bitch.
You think that we like you, but
You
That
think?
was from Places in the Heart, right? Where she worked
Yes.
with Malkovich. That was the
Yeah.
movie that gave us Malkovich, really.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yes, he was sitting in the audience. He was happy for her, and then it happened. The press tore her a new one.
So what did the press have a problem
My
with?
terrible Malkovich impersonation.
First of all, people do like Sally Field, which is true.
Yeah.
People do like her, but in that moment, people did not. The irony is that was kind of when people turned against her, thinking that she was overly dramatic or saccharine or Pollyanna-ish.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think for some reason, some members of the press are like, "Oh, that's just too," or maybe it came across as a little insincere, a little too reversed. I mean, same thing happened to James Cameron when he quoted the line from Titanic. I'm the king of the world. And all of a sudden, he thinks he's the king of the world. It's like, no, he was quoting Titanic, you idiots. So,
although nothing quite compares to the Howard Dean.
Oh yeah, poor Dean.
It's another exciting.
And we're gonna go, and we're gonna.
Yeah, and that just and
it's ironic that ruined a political career.
Yeah,
back then, and now
ruined his career. And
he shot a woman in the head.
People don't
in front of the White House.
Yeah.
So
it's considered. I think insincere was the word, Manny. When somebody thinks somebody's being overly dramatic or insincere, and they're they call it love bombing. Nowadays they call that love bombing, and they say it's a sign of all kinds of horrible things. So,
wow.
Yeah,
I've heard that love bombing.
Yeah, so I think she was being accused of love bombing, like manipulating or being insincere in the moment. But
yeah, I think so. But no, I look at it back. I look back on it now, and I think no, she was just excited. She, I mean, she just won the freaking Academy Award.
Yeah.
After a long career, and well, no, it's kind of the middle of her career. I mean,
no,
she'd done movies before, and she did plenty of movies after that. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, and there she is. There she is, looking lovely. As sexist as this might sound, to me, Sally Field is the female Matthew Broderick, just ageless. I mean, Broderick still looks like he could play 12. Well, maybe not, maybe not quite that bad, but he still has a very kind of youngish, boyish face, and so I think Sally Field also has a youngish, boyish face. No, I mean, lady face.
You like him.
What am I saying?
You really like him.
Yeah. All right. So, shall we get into our list then?
Yeah. Okay. What do you have for number one?
For number one, I have. Well, wait a minute. Before we get to that, I do want to mention that I think her real breakout role, what really put Sally Field on the map, was her performance as Sybil in the TV movie from the 70s.
Yes.
She'd done from the 60s, of course, we mentioned Gidget, we mentioned The Flying Nun. She did a bunch of TV appearances, special, guest roles in other series. But then in 1972, or I forget exactly what year, but she starred as Sybil, this woman with multiple personality disorder,
right,
alongside Joanne Woodward, who's no slouch herself. And that role, really, suddenly people started taking her seriously, started to like, oh my God, Gidget can act. She's not just this cutesy little pixie-ish girl, she can act. And I think that's what kind of started getting her movie roles.
And I wanted to say that she did that intentionally. After she had done all of those like fluff pieces, she enrolled in the actor's studio, intent on learning how to become a dramatic actress. And she studied, I think it might've been 4 years or something, but
right.
So she did that intentionally. And so Sybil was the culmination.
Lee Strasberg?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Strasberg.
I don't know who her direct person at the actor's studio was, but it was that.
Again, I think in the 60s and 70s, it was Strasberg. Yeah.
She emerged. It was like to be able to do Sybil, which probably was the first Sally Field role I ever saw her in. I'm going to guess. I just remember that. That's something that very few actresses could have pulled off, I think.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Yeah. And like I said, I do remember her. My first memory of Sally Field was The Flying Nun. And, you know, and then to see her in that role as this woman with this condition, it was like, wow. Flying
Yeah,
Nun grew
I
up.
put it high on my list here, and for some reason, it didn't make it to the list on the other side of the page. Again,
Wow.
it's an Oscar worthy performance. As far
Mhm.
as they usually look for something like that.
Yeah.
You're playing something that's very difficult to play. It's
Or
not
Emmy.
easy to act.
Yeah.
And for some reason, yeah, I didn't even put it on my honorable mention list, and it should be on
Yeah.
the list.
No.
So
Okay. So back to my list. Number one on my list is Smokey and the Bandit.
really,
Yeah. Yeah. I know, right? Smokey and the Bandit. It's not a very serious film, obviously. It is more of a Burt Reynolds
no,
movie. I get that. And you got Burt Reynolds, you got Jackie Gleason, you got Jerry Reed. Sally Field still put in such a wonderful performance as the Runaway Bride, and it's really one of her. And it was like her second movie, I think, second or third movie uh, after leaving television. And you know, for what really could have been just anybody's role, I mean, she made it. She made it her own, and she even I think she came back for the sequel as well. But
yes,
but still, I think
and Hooper,
and Hooper and other movies,
which was another
yeah,
Burt Reynolds vehicle.
right, right, right.
She
I mean,
was
they worked
she
really
was
well
dating him
together,
at the time.
right? Yeah,
She was before Lonnie Anderson. It is it's number 4 on my list. It was a very cute performance. The whole changing in the front seat of the car was hysterical bit. And again, like you said, she's up against heavyweight character actors, and she's pulling her
hmm
on.
exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons why I put it as number one. I mean, to be this young actress, fresh from television, fresh from doing one of her first movies, as a matter of fact, starred another future superstar, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Uh, so I mean, right off the bat, she was competing against more in that case literal heavyweight. But yeah, like you said, she's competing against or starring opposite, Burt Reynolds, who was at the height of his popularity, Jackie Gleason, of course, who's already an icon from television, and Jerry Reed, popular country music star, and held her own. Yeah, absolutely held her own. And I think that I absolutely noticed her, and I'm like, wow, yeah, this is quite the performance. So that's why it's number one on my list. And
When
plus, it's just a
when
fun
Steve
movie. It's
McQueen
just a fun
starred,
movie.
yeah, it is a fun movie. When Steve McQueen starred in The Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner,
Mm.
uh, there were several scenes where Brenner was kind of stealing the focus from the rest of them. I mean, it
Mhm.
wasn't hard to do. All he had to do was take his hat off, and the bald head with the sun shining off of it. And in one scene, McQueen actually put his hat down in water and put the hat on his head to take the focus back away from Yul Brynner.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
And that was his. I believe that was his first movie too. So he was determined that he was gonna outshine Yul
I
Brynner.
don't think it was his first, but it was early on in his
It
career.
was
Yeah,
definitely early on in his
yeah, it
career.
was early
Yeah,
on in his career.
because I remember McQueen from Wanted Dead or Alive.
Mm-hmm.
He's another superstar that came from Western, doing westerns on television, like Eastwood. But yeah, yeah, there's always those little moments where they try to make
Yeah.
themselves,
Again, when
pop.
you got 7 character actors, fighting for stage or for screen time, yeah,
Yeah,
it's not easy. And again, she was in that kind of situation with Smokey and the Bandit because there was a lot of character action going on with, like you said, with Gleason, with Burt Reynolds, with Jerry Reed, the dog with Jerry Reed,
yeah,
the son that was supposed to marry her, that was Jackie Gleason's son.
yeah. A little dim. What's happening, Daddy? There's no way that you could have come from my loins. When we get home, I'm gonna slap your mama. Uh, anyway, yeah. So yeah, Jackie Gleason, of course, he definitely stole the show. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But you know, like I said, Sally Field still held her own.
Next to Ralph Cramden, it's his most iconic character,
Exactly.
Buford T. Justice.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number? So what's your number one?
Number one on my list was Norma Ray. Very
Okay.
powerful performance.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong performance. And again, if there was anything that really showed that she had dramatic acting chops, Norma Ray was the one that did it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think she got an Academy Award nod for that.
I think she did. Yes. Yeah.
But I think she did win for Places in the Heart.
Yeah.
And Place in the Heart is my second one. That's
Okay.
number two
All
on
right.
my list because
Okay.
it's a very powerful film. There's a lot of good messages in the film, and it's a
Yes.
film that pretty much gave us John Malkovich.
Yes.
I know that he starred as Lenny in Of Mice and Men with Gary Sinise,
Right.
but I think that was around the same time. And
That
that one was an
I think that one
independent
came
film.
later. I think that came later. Yeah. But
That was an
still,
independent film.
yeah. Yeah.
So Place in the Heart was an actual studio movie, and again,
Right.
Malkovich plays a blind man in it. I think he got an Academy nod for
Yeah.
that, and it put him on the map, so to speak,
Yeah.
with movie stars, and we would see him again and again and again until today.
Right. Right.
So yeah, Norma Ray and Place in the Heart are my top two for
Okay.
Sally Field. Her
Okay.
best dramatic performances. Well,
Very
wait a
good.
minute. Number three,
Yes.
even though it's a comedy, she gives an extremely good dramatic performance in it, and we'll talk about that in a minute. What's your
Okay.
number two?
My number two, as a matter of fact, is Norma Ray. It almost made my number one, but still, I just have a soft heart or soft spot for Smokey the Bandit. But Norma Ray, definitely, like you said, this is her. It's her at her dramatic best. I mean, since Sybil, really. And of course, it helps that it's based on a true story. Norma Ray is a woman who helped form a union, and fighting against the odds, fighting against the bosses, even against her husband, played by Beau Bridges, and who eventually came around. But it's just a good performance. I mean, and an excellent movie, directed by Norman Jewison, I believe. I may get that wrong, but
I think you're right.
regardless, I mean, it's just an awesome movie, and if you want to see Sally Field at her most dramatic best, Norma Ray. Places in the Heart is also on my list. It's not. I think it may be fourth on my list. So that, yeah, it's number 4. My number 3 is Steel Magnolias. Like you mentioned, it's an ensemble piece, and she's part of this incredible cast, as you can see from the poster there. I mean, holy cow! Dolly Parton, Shirley MacLaine, Daryl Hannah, Olympia Dukakis, and Julia Roberts in one of her earliest roles as well.
And again, it did make my list because she was completely lost in it. It's such a showcase of fantastic women stars. She has a hard time keeping it up with the rest of them.
But it's
she's kind of lost in it.
No, I do agree with you, but I'm looking at it in terms of just her performance, and I mean, she didn't shine as brightly in this one as some of the others, but I still think it's a great performance. I think it's just one of those. It's just one of those movies that regardless of who's in it, or not, I should say regardless of who's in it, but it's just a good movie. It's just a good movie.
I'm going to call you on that one.
That's okay. We don't always have to agree on anything, and that's fine. But number 4, like I said, is Places in the Heart, and maybe you're right. Maybe I need to rethink that. That maybe should have been higher up in the list. because that is her performance. That is her movie. It is her
It is her
starring
movie.
vehicle. It's definitely her movie. Malkovich is in it, like you said. A lot of other really good actors are in it. The kids, you know, the actors who played her kids were wonderful. Plus, just an awesome story.
I also want to
If
say,
you don't, I'm sorry. No, I was
I
just going to
also,
say, no, go ahead.
you go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, mention for people who don't know what the movie's about. It's set in the 30s in Texas during the Depression. Sally Field plays a widow. Her husband is a local sheriff who is accidentally shot by a young African American, young black man who winds up getting lynched, unfortunately. And so she has to struggle in order to keep her farm from being repossessed repossessed by the bank.
Hmm.
Uh, and in we talk about John Malkovich, his character was like, I can't remember, it's the nephew. I think it's the nephew of the bank manager who says, "Here, you got to take care of this guy," and eventually, and there's another. I want to say Danny Glover plays another character who winds up helping.
I think you're right.
Who winds up
And I
helping
remember that
her.
Malkovich's character's name was Mr. Will
Yeah, yeah,
in that,
and
and he actually puts the finger on a bunch of guys who are Klansmen in the movie,
right,
which is a great scene because he can't
yeah,
see, but his hearing is really good and he hears their voices.
right. He recognizes their voices. Yeah, the ending's a little weird. I was
Yeah.
gotta say it's a little weird, but still very powerful. And I think it might be a little too on the nose, a little too messagey, but they nowadays people will say, "Oh, it's woke," but who cares? It's still a powerful, wonderful movie. And if you see any movie with Sally Field, highly recommend Places in the Heart.
What I was going
Okay.
to say earlier is there's a lot of films that should be on this list, but there's just not enough spaces on the list. She's had a lot of really good
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absence of Malice is one of
Right.
them.
Yeah.
There was another one with James Garner. I
Oh,
can't remember the title off the top of my head
oh,
now.
that's on my one of my honorable mentions is Murphy's Romance.
Murphy's Romance. That's it. That's it. Um,
Yeah.
but my number three on my list, and it's just a little more than a cameo, really, but it's such a powerful performance, such a good performance. It's Mrs. Doubtfire, where she's up
Yes.
against Robin Williams. Talking about stealing scenes, and she's
Hmm.
pulling her own against Robin Williams as the mom who is just so frustrated with her ex-husband,
Hmm.
and trying to deal with their children, and forces him to dress up in drag so they can be the nanny of his kids. But
Right.
again, her performance, she's kind of the villain, but you still feel sorry for her. You get her perspective, you see where she's coming from, you understand it, you get it, and that's not easy to portray. So it's definitely worth a slot on the list. The
Oh
performance was
yeah.
just
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Smokey and the Bandit's my number four. We've already talked about that. My number five is another comedy ensemble piece, and she really does make the best of her character in it, and that's Soap Dish.
Okay. Yeah. 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 That's it's an honorable mention for me, but yeah, Soap Dish
Yeah, with
again.
Kevin Kline
Just look at
and
that
Robert
cast.
Downey Jr.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a fun movie, and again, her lines are just wonderful. And again,
yeah,
it's about a soap opera, a disastrous soap opera where everybody hates each other, and they're bringing characters back that were dead. And the writers find a way to bring it back.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
decapitated.
It's a great spoof of soap opera productions and just soap opera stories and how kind of ridiculous they can get and be. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's on par with Mrs. Not Mrs. Doubtfire. Um, Tootsie. It's on par with Tootsie in my book.
Tootsie,
I mean, it'll be a great double feature to watch with that.
Yeah.
And,
Also, it kind of also reminded me of a stage play in a movie, made a movie or two called Noises Off.
yes. Yeah. Noises
Had a little
Off
bit of that
as
element
well.
to it.
Yeah, it's a good one too.
That kind of backstage look of just craziness going on.
And Norma Ray.
And Norma Ray.
Ray, you want to talk about Norma Ray?
Was there something you're trying to tell us?
I just never mind me. Just carry on. Just
pay no attention to the woman behind the curtain.
Nothing to see here. Just keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Do you have anything that you would like to say about any of the movies we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I love Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, I just absolutely adore her. She brought such levity, such fun. That to me is Sally in her element that I really think about her. I mean, I know she goes all the way to Sybil and then she goes all the way to Gidget, but for me, that was like a really healthy role for her and everybody loved. I mean, she just made the whole thing awesome. Yes. So, and then Mrs. Doubtfire, I always forget she's in that because she just really plays that role. She's not Sally Field. She's just playing that role. And you kind of resent her. It's like what Rory said, like you resent her and you're like, oh man, like she's really, but then like you get it, you know why she has to have that role. So I think she brought as much goodwill to that role as somebody could.
You know, I think that's maybe the thing, the point. You just said that she disappears into the role. And I think that's one of why she's kind of, I wouldn't say forgettable, but we kind of forget about her because we don't think of, she's Sally Field playing whatever. It's that character. It's kind of like Meryl Streep, although Meryl Streep tends to be a little bit more upfront, you know, in her roles. But absolutely. Sally Field just kind of, like you said, she disappears into the role where you forget the actress and you remember the part. You know, I mean, we remember, hey, there's that you know, ex-wife of Robin Williams that's causing trouble, and we don't think, oh, it's Sally Field, you know. And of course, gotta give a shout out to Pierce Brosnan for his portrayal. There's a drive-by shooting, and then of course Robin Williams.
But we were talking about this before we started, before we came on air, right? And I said to you guys backstage, I said it's weird that she's one of the most iconic actresses really of that era. But when I think of, if I were to list the greatest actresses of that era, I just would never think of her.
Yeah.
I keep, you know, and then Rory said, well, she was in a lot of ensembles, but I think also, Manny, too, it's true what you just said there. I think we also, the other element is that she does, particularly after she came out of the actor studio, she really learned her acting chops and she knows how to command a role. She kind of fades in, and that's really that's a success as a dramatic actor, I think.
Well, it's funny because last week I remember when I mentioned Sally Field, and Rory pointed this out. People were commenting, and all they could comment was Spider-Man.
Yeah,
they remembered her as Aunt May from Spider-Man,
which I thought.
I'll tell you why. Because everyone was like, "How the hell did Sally Field end up in that role?" Especially after what we got with McGuire, you know, we got a more, you know, you said it last week. I think that the Aunt Mays are getting younger and younger as we go by, and that's because Marissa Tomei, of course, looks a hell of a lot younger than she is.
Exactly.
But and Sally Fields looks younger than she is.
Well, in Hollywood,
let's face it, we're talking about somebody that started in the '60s.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know,
I
mean, have you seen Burt Ward these days?
Yeah, but if you don't play that game, you don't get the roles.
Yeah, I know.
Particularly for women, so they have to play that game, sort of. But I think that's one of the other things when we're talking about Sally Field, we really do have to make note of the longevity of her career, which is very, very, very rare. I mean, how many actresses have really been that cute and then come all the way to matriarch and have that sort of powerful stance? It's almost unheard of. And maybe one element for audiences and for casting directors and all that is that she still looks very young. She looks younger than what she is. And I don't think it's accidental. I mean, that's what we look for, and that's what Hollywood looks for.
Right.
Better
Right.
or worse? I mean,
Well, I gotta mention my fifth pick is a movie that she did just a few years ago, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, called "Hello, My Name Is Doris," where she's this quirky office worker who winds up becoming incredibly. I mean, she becomes infatuated with her new boss, played by Michael, or not Michael, Mike Max Greenfield from the New Girl TV show, and it's she's this quirky kind of, you know,
It's funny. I saw that when it came out, and I forgot about it when I was making my list today.
really
It
no,
is
that
an
was one of the.
interesting performance. It really
It's an interesting
is,
performance, her and
and an
Tyne
awkward
Daly.
performance too.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's an interesting movie, and why I put it on my list is because one, this is her, now a little bit more older, a little bit more mature, but she's playing a character that's at first very shy, very timid, very, you know, introverted, and because of this affair that she's having in her head with her boss,
The
and her
infatuation,
subsequent
yeah.
friendship with her, yeah, the infatuation with, and her subsequent friendship with her and some of his friends and so on, she slowly starts coming out of her shell, and even though she does a lot of things to kind of impress him, it it helps her become somebody, somebody different, somebody new, somebody a little bit more open to things than she was at the beginning. So even though the relationship doesn't quite work out the way she wants it to, or imagined it in her head, it still helped her in kind of breaking out of her shell, uh,
Mhm.
which she recognized that she had been in for so many years. And there's a great scene, but there's a little bit of a shouting match kind of between her and Tyne Daly about letting go of the past. Tyne Daly is still holding on, or her character is still holding on to memories of her husband, of her late husband.
Mhm.
And Sally kind of tells her about it, like he's been dead for however many years. It's time to let go. It's time to move on. And then that's what her character does. She moves on. She
Mhm.
like well, not to repeat myself, but she breaks out of her shell. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think it was a really nice little performance. I mean, yeah, it's not a very memorable movie. You're right.
Can we
It
put
is a
that
little.
poster back up again in case, because it is an interesting performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like you can see it right there. It just has this kind of quirky way of dressing, the hair bows and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And but that just kind of helped her performance, and to how kind of her kind of locked into this almost, you know, not repressed, but kind of this infantile version of herself,
Yeah.
So anyway, so
Yeah.
honorable
She acted like a
mentions.
teenage kid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So honorable mentions for me.
Okay.
Well, Mrs. Doubtfire for one.
Yeah.
Murphy's Romance. And which I
I
was
used to
also a
have
big
that
James
poster.
Garner fan. Yeah, I mean it's a great poster, and it's interesting that it's her and not that Garner isn't on there as well.
Yeah. At that
And
time, yeah,
Soapdish,
she was box office.
she was box office, yeah. And also, got to give it a shout out to another role of hers, and that is, of course, Mama in Forrest Gump.
Yes. Yeah, that's my top honorable mention.
Yeah, I mean, even though she wasn't in it for a lot, I mean, come on, that was a
That's right.
very
That's why I
very
got honorable
memorable role.
mention for me, because she's in it for so little. But again,
Yeah,
what she does in it is very memorable.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, she has some great scenes in the
I mean,
movie.
every scene she's in, whether it's the
Yeah.
beginning, where she's trying to get young Forrest, she gets the leg braces on, and she loves him so much she's willing to sleep with the sleazy principal to get
Yes,
him.
principal.
This is before
Um,
mainstreaming became a thing, and all that stuff. And then of course her death scene, or she tells
yes.
Forrest that she has cancer. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get emotional if I talk about that. So, but yeah,
Um,
great performance
can we
all the
put
way
that
through.
picture up again? one more time? The little kid, that little kid there is the reason why Tom Hanks did the performance he did in Forrest Gump. That kid came up with the character in his audition.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Hanks decided to copy it. He was so hysterical. He had it so everybody in stitches in his audition that he immediately got the part. And Tom Hanks said, "I'm doing that." He ended up doing, and he got the Academy Award for that. He's stealing that kid's performance.
That was his natural way of speaking. And I saw an interview with Hanks on some talk show where he's talking about that. And he said, director
Bob Zemeckis.
But you got to come up with a voice. What's your voice going to be? And he said, what about that? Because he would have conversations with this young man, and he said, wouldn't it make sense if I sounded like him, since I'm supposed to be him as an older, as an adult? And Zemeckis said, yeah, you're probably right. And so he listened to him. He got recordings of him talking, and that's how he came up with the Forrest Gump voice. Mama always said,
and those
life was like a box of chocolates. Yeah. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
honorable mention. That's number one on my honorable mention list. Legally Blonde 2. She was such a mean, nasty politician in that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely noteworthy. I mean, it was a different performance for her. She usually doesn't play the villain, and she was certainly the villain in that, and she was shown for what she was, which of course is a nice message. Come on, folks. There are people like this in Hollywood, in Washington D.C. Come on, they're all over the place.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, I got to be honest. I never saw Legally Blonde 2. I saw the first one. I didn't see that one. But now I have to see it.
Again, she plays a politician who, does the trading, I'll give you this if you give me that kind of thing. And she kind of screws over the main character about a dog legal thing that she wants to get passed. And then we find out that the reason she went ahead and passed it was because she was doing a favor for somebody else, or she wanted a favor from somebody else.
Quid pro quo.
Punchline is the other one. It's not a great movie. It's not a great representation of what goes on backstage in comedy clubs. I know because I've been there. But her performance, there's so many layers and changes in her performance in that movie that I had to give it a mention.
Mm-hmm. And it's another Tom Hanks movie as well. Or
another Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah. Reunited yet again. Yeah.
So Barry Sobel was his comedian coach, and I think it was, I want to say Carol Leifer was hers. And she did a really good job, of pretending to do comedy in a club with actors playing audience members and such. It's a noble performance. It really is. And again, it's noteworthy to put it on the list here of honorable mentions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I also want to, it's not actually formally on my list, I just thought of it, but she did this movie called Not Without My Daughter, where she goes to somewhere in the Middle East. I forget exactly.
Haven't seen
Iran
it.
Or Iraq or something.
That's what didn't make my list.
I saw it once, and it was a very dramatic role, and it was good. It kind of reminded me of Taken a little bit.
Give me back my son.
Except she's not, a trained assassin. She's just this mom trying to get her daughter back. She marries this Arab man, and
that was me doing Mel Gibson
daughter
from Ransom.
Give
me back my son.
That was very good. Very good. Caught just that right amount of crazy there. But so anyway, I just wanted to mention that one. I thought it was a pretty good performance. like I said, not one of my favorite movies. It's a
Well,
little,
it's
little
certainly the
too,
dramatic situation definitely calls for a good performance. So
yeah. So, and I don't really recall her ever giving a bad performance in any of these movies. I mean, she's just that good an actress. You know, even if the movie
yeah, I
is
mean, I guess the closest thing would be Hooper, but but yeah, I
what?
mean, and that's only because it's a rehash of their relationship in the Bandit films. I think
Oh
he even
yeah,
wears the same
yeah.
hat, and I think he drives a Trans Am. It's just like let's go
Right,
with what we
right.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
But in that, he's a
yeah.
stuntman.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, not one of her better movies. Not one of Bert's better
She
movies.
phoned it in.
Yeah, yeah. That was definitely. Yeah, you're right. That was phoned in. Yeah. So I mean, there's always got to be at least one.
Yeah.
you know, in a slew of
But for the
really
record,
good.
I like the movie Hooper. I like the fact that they're making
Oh,
kind of a James Bond film in it, and that Adam West is the star of the movie, and that Burt Reynolds has to be him as a stuntman. I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of good stuff about that movie. It's just her performance was just it was just there. It wasn't.
yeah,
There's one scene where she's worrying about he's going to kill himself, he's going to break his back. That was a good part of the performance, but the rest of it she kind of phoned in.
yeah,
In my
yeah.
opinion.
It was really. I mean, it was another Burt Reynolds kind of vanity project,
Now,
working with.
James Best as his friend and partner. Wonderful performance, fantastic. That was the performance of his career. I mean, he
Mhm.
went on to do the sheriff. Um, what was the name of the sheriff on the Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh, I don't remember.
I'm gonna get
I
them
keep
new
thinking
boys.
I keep thinking Lobo, but that's another
Boss
Boss
guy.
Hog.
Hog. Boss Hog.
Yeah, he was
No, it
working for
wasn't Boss
Boss
Hog.
Hog.
He was working for Boss Hog. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, yeah. Dukes of Hazzard. Right. That's right. He went on to do Dukes of Hazzard. Of course, Best. I mean, he's been working since he was on a couple of episodes of The Twilight Zone
yes.
back in the day.
Yeah, he's in stuff way back even in the 50s.
Yeah, and
Um,
movies and
and
yeah,
yeah, I mean, he was in the Killer Shrews. He plays the
right.
captain of the ship that takes them to the island with the killer shrews, and he's in Gamera in the American version in the very beginning as one of the guys that's checking the radar. And yeah, I mean, he started out doing westerns and monster movies and stuff like that, like Clint Eastwood, and
Yeah,
yeah, unfortunately, he didn't really come to fame until he was older in the 70s when he did the Dukes of Hazzard.
right. Yeah, it's people. That's where I remember him mostly from. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was probably it would have been the Jerry Reed uh, role. If you hadn't,
And that's you got to ask, why wasn't Jerry Reed that character? Why did
oh,
they go with James Best?
maybe Reed wasn't
Jerry Reed
available.
was doing something else.
Maybe he was doing something
Um,
else. I mean, he had a
but it
singing
was good
career.
for Best because it gave him a great role, to play.
Right. Right.
Again, he's through the entire movie, and he gets to play drunk, he gets to play, dramatic,
Yeah.
and he gets to do comedy with Burt Reynolds.
And I gotta
Yeah,
say,
I hate him. I hate him. Good, good.
yeah, and yeah, I liked Hooper at the time.
Yeah,
It's, cars, and like you said, it had the sort of, again, behind the scenes stuntmen,
I love the fact that
and
they make
and
fun of
then it
James Bond in
inspired,
that, tongue in cheek,
right?
and they also make fun
Yeah,
of James Bond in the Cannonball Run with Roger Moore playing Seymour Goldfarb, a guy
yeah,
that thinks he's Roger Moore.
yes, yes.
That was a hysterical bit.
Oh yeah, a couple,
And they
the
got
Cannonball
Bondian
Run
type
movies.
music playing, and yeah.
Yeah.
But Hooper was the only film that Jan Michael Vincent was in. That was the
Oh,
only Burt Reynolds film that Jan Michael Vincent was in.
oh,
Evidently
yeah. John Michael
he had
Vincent had his
problems.
own problems.
He had problems with being an alcoholic, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what got him kicked off Airwolf, that TV
yeah.
show. After, like, I think first or second season, they were like,
He was very angry
"Dude,
and
you
bitter,
gotta,
and
you
he
gotta,
passed
you gotta
away.
take care of this." Yeah, then he passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that series. Him and Ernest Borgnine, you know.
Anything with Ernest Borgnine. We're gonna
Yeah,
have to do a show on Ernest Borgnine.
Ernest Borgnine. Yeah, let's do that. You know,
I like her,
sort of-
Mom. She likes me.
Marnie. Yeah, just so pops up in these odd places like Escape from New York, the cabbie, and
Mhm.
you know, and of course, mostly remembered for McHale's Navy. So
The Poseidon Adventure.
the Poseidon Adventure, yeah, exactly.
He
Which I
survived the
remember
Poseidon Adventure.
he survived it. That's right. His wife, Stella Stevens, didn't, but but he does. Yeah, that was a great movie. I remember reading the book and then I saw the movie and it was like, well, that's a little bit different, you know, but
Ooh,
it was still very good. Still
I
very
would
good.
love to read the book of that. It's
Yeah,
a favorite movie of mine. I would love to read the book of that.
yeah.
That must be
I
really
mean,
good.
it's pretty faithful, but like 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 all movies, of course, they had to condense it and change it, and a lot of
Oh,
stuff
they
got
would.
left out in the book. But no, it's a good book.
I was surprised at how much they changed the movie Jaws from the original book by Peter Benchley. Wow.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, I read that
Very,
too.
very, very different. So
Especially the Richard Dreyfuss character.
yeah, Matt Hooper has an
Who
affair with the
has an
sheriff's
affair with the
wife
sheriff. Yeah,
in that.
and he winds up dying in the book. Sorry, spoilers.
Oops.
But he doesn't
Well, I think we
survive.
spoiled it too with the whole affair thing. I don't think anybody was
Yeah, that's
expecting that.
yeah. So yeah. But I mean, it's a good book. But I can kind of see why they decided, nah, let's not have those subplots. Is kind of people want to see the thing with the shark and the guys
They
going
want
out
the
the boat.
shark.
That's right,
They want Quint. All right.
Robert Shaw.
Well, we
So
discussed
awesome.
we discussed earlier today what we were going to try to do next week. Next week we're doing the improv show with Panoria at 6:00, so our show will be at 10.
Yes.
And it'll be worth staying up late for, because we're going to do Alfred Hitchcock.
That's right. We are getting to
And
the hitch.
I know Manny wants to do Scorsese.
Well,
But,
people have mentioned
but
it before. I've seen a lot of comments saying, "What about Scorsese? What about Scorsese?" Okay, well, we'll do Scorsese.
and we'll get to it. We'll get to it. There's plenty of
get
time.
to it. Yeah.
But we decided to hitch next episode. Love the Flying Nun.
Yeah. So did I.
She was one of those shows that tried to cash in on like Bewitched and I
Yeah.
Dream of Jeannie at the time. And again, I think she had already done Gidget by that time. So they cast her as the Flying Nun.
Yeah. And
Flew.
And flew. And I gotta say, for the early '60s, the flying effects were actually pretty good. I mean, for a little low budget TV show,
I thought that
I
was
was
the
like,
late 60s.
that's pretty impressive.
I mean, a lot of people
Sort
were flying in the late 60s.
Yeah. 8 miles high. Oh yeah. Not me, of course.
Oh man, that show was one big LSD trip.
I did not inhale. Anyway.
And he got away with that.
Yes.
He got away with that. Well, that's why they call him Slick Willie.
That's right.
Well, that depends on your definition of sex. He got away with that.
Well, it depends on your definition of what is. I did not have relations with that woman. Sure you didn't.
And politics was changed forever.
See, I would have had even more respect for the dude if he had just come on and said, "Yeah, I tapped that. What about it? What you gonna do?" I'm the
This is
president.
something I'm gonna have to deal with myself and my wife.
Yeah, it's like when Jimmy Carter admitted in I think it was a Playboy interview that he had lusted after famous cars and all that. So
Well, meanwhile, Europe is laughing their asses off that anyone gives a shit about any of this.
right, I mean, they have like 2 or 3 different mistresses.
I mean, they're just confused why that's part of the pedigree, of course. But the impeachment was about the duplicity. It was about the power dynamic. It wasn't about him having extramarital affairs.
You don't have mistresses? What?
Yeah, I mean, Europe just doesn't. I mean, Europe doesn't really tend to care about the same.
Yeah.
This idea of sexual morality in kind of more of an American.
Well, that's why they kicked the Puritans out and sent them over here.
Yeah, I mean,
now we're stuck in there.
America's like this. The foundation was that all of the austere people. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Came over here.
Like, man, these dudes are such party poopers.
Yeah,
there's all that empty land over there. Send them over there.
Like, we don't need this.
We don't need this. We don't need their uptight bullshit. Come on.
I mean,
And now, here we are.
Look at witches. I mean, look at Macron, or just any of they don't care about any of those things over there. It's funny, but even here they really didn't. Like I said, it was about the lying. So.
Oh yeah.
So it was a lot deeper than that, but it is an interesting thing. Says a lot about what America values. I will say, all of the taxpayers' money that went into that could have probably been spent on some really cool stuff. So that's, to me, more of an ethical thing. All of the time and energy that goes into trying to expose certain personal or behaviors. Yeah, or whatever. I mean, you can always get someone on anything, but it's like,
look at that spot on that blue dress. Well, yeah.
Exactly.
And Linda Tripp, God rest her soul, but gosh, Linda Tripp.
Yeah, and I watched Blade Runner the other day, and it's set in the far future of 2017, and there's all the flying cars, and I'm like, where was that future?
Yeah, I've been wanting that future since I was like 7.
Why didn't we get that future? With the flying cars and the killer replicants and all that, and the constant rain in LA, in LA,
comes down to, what it comes down to. Back in the 30s and 40s, the Soviets had hovercrafts that their military was working on. That's
right.
So we've had that type of technology, and it's just about funding and business, and they get blocked by things like, for example, they've cured the common cold now at least 5 times over. There's 5 different research teams that within the last 15 to 20 years have cured it, but nobody wants to put the amount of money into it. And then there's a whole pharmaceutical all those companies want you to get the common cold. There's reason why people want that, because then you have symptoms and you buy their
stuff. There you go, right there. They want you to keep buying.
They want you to be sick. Stuff. But it's not that they didn't cure the common cold. They actually have them. They've cured it in 5 different ways. And it's like crazy that nobody wants to put the funding behind it. So there usually is an answer. Technology, it's like sometimes we go backwards, because I want the flying cars. And of course, they've had flying cars. They've had small planes since forever, but they just will not invest there. But I want that.
Yeah. Back in the 60s, we were watching like Land of the Giants and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and stuff. That stuff's all supposed to take place in 1999.
Mm-hmm. We're so behind schedule.
Right. And why didn't the moon blow out of orbit in 1999? That's what I would say.
I don't even know.
Why should have lost the moon?
There you go. Space 1999. Even in the title.
Exactly. It's in the title.
We lost her. And we're supposed to be wearing, was it Mad Max? It's supposed to take place like 2020, right? 2021.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're not wearing, leather crotch studded crotch pieces and
Right. And
you know
exactly. Shoulder pad,
masks
football
and
shoulder pads painted
football
black.
shoulder pads. Yeah.
Right.
I
And, out to the
I blame
wasteland
the
with a few monkeys.
multiverse. Went down a different path.
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Have you seen The Flash yet?
I have not. I have not
Okay.
seen it yet. I do intend to. Just
My daughter and I saw it the other night. We liked it. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was different than we expected. My daughter thought it was better than she expected. I thought it didn't live up to the hype, but I still enjoyed it because Michael Keaton was back as Batman.
yeah.
The
That's probably the
week
only
post-
reason I would watch it is because Michael Keaton.
That's what everybody said. Michael Keaton went on the day before Father's Day. He went on and did a video just of himself, just a close up, saying, the movie your dad really wants to see is The Flash because it's got Batman. And then they show the clip from the movie where it goes, "Yeah, I'm Batman." And they show him jumping out of his plane, with his whole bat wings out and everything. And there were thousands of comments on there, and I read a lot of them, and they all said basically the same thing. We hate Ezra Miller. We hope you do a standalone Bat movie. The only reason we're going to see this movie is because of you, Michael. That's all they said. I mean, everybody's saying the same thing. Different words.
I
but the same
remember.
thing.
Yeah, I remember when he went on Letterman, and this is after I think Batman came on, and he was talking about Letterman was asking, well, is there going to be more movies? And he said, oh yeah, there's probably be a lot, and oh yeah, I'm going to be playing Batman until I'm, 80, and they're going to have to put my arm in a sling, so people can, like, yep, I'm still Batman. Yep. And I'm like,
How prophetic.
not far off the truth here. That he,
Yeah, because he's got to be in his mid 60s, right?
Yeah,
Mid to late 60s,
older.
maybe.
Yeah.
But again, in Frank Miller's world of Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, he comes back in his 50s or 60s and he suits up in the bat suit again, and it relives the glory of being Batman.
Right. Yeah.
And brings the
so many
Joker
other
back,
movies have
unfortunately.
so many movies have already like stolen bits and pieces from Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
That it almost seems like, there was an animated version.
Yes.
With Peter Weller as the voice of Batman.
Yes.
But I always thought why I would love to see, even though somebody already used the title Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
I think and bring back Michael Keaton. Call it something else. Call it a different title. Give it another title.
Well, it's
Michael Keaton as the older Batman.
Yes.
It's
proved that he can do it. He's willing to do it. And the studio made a boatload of money off this film that would have tanked this $90 million thing because of what happened with Ezra Miller in real life.
Right, exactly.
So they should give him a standalone Bat movie now. Now that they got him and he's willing to do it again. And again, if the script is good, he'll do it.
Oh yeah.
So I personally hope that they are not stupid. I hope that they grab that brass ring as it comes around. Because it's proven that everybody does want to see him again as Batman.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing.
If any more proof is needed that Keaton was Batman to a whole generation,
still got it.
See, where my finger is.
Still got it.
He still got it. He still has it.
They even recreated the mansion and from the 1989 movie with the kitchen and everything. From the 1989 movie, which was really nice.
Unfortunately, I think Michael Goff passed away.
He did.
I don't think he's so.
Yes.
Couldn't have brought him back as Alfred, but
no.
And that's unfortunate. But yeah, we have Keaton, and I love to see a movie version of the Dark Knight Returns of the Frank Miller comic book.
Right, with the Robin, the girl Robin,
the young Robin.
They pull in.
Where he actually
fighting the clowns,
the Joker, fighting the clowns. They can leave out the part about the Joker.
They can finally let Willem Dafoe play the Joker.
And exactly, who I think Miller based his drawing of the Joker on. Yeah, Willem Dafoe, bring him back as a Joker, or not bring him back, but actually, that would be perfect. Perfect. So,
all right.
Will it happen? Probably not.
We'll see.
We'll see. They might.
Again, I think that would be the likeliest choice. I think that would be the way to go forward to make billions of dollars. Yeah. And again,
Yeah.
the press and
Oh,
everything
yeah. That
that's
would
going
be
on now is proving that everybody is all about Michael Keaton as Batman again with this.
that would be an
And they
excuse
do
to
not want to
print
see
money if they did that.
Ezra play the Flash. Period.
I mean, if they want to do more Flash movies, bring in Grant Gustin from the TV show.
Yeah,
'Cause he was awesome. He was awesome as the Flash.
he was good. He's good Flash. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
or cast an unknown.
or cast an unknown, exactly. I mean, my God, how many Batman have we had? How many
Again,
Superman have we
they're
had?
starting over already with this new series of DC movies.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. The Snyderverse is dead, and
Cavill is not going to come back as
Cavill
Superman
is out as
now.
Superman. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they're trying to blame Zack Snyder, but no, it was Warner's. Warner's fucked it up, and they've been doing that. I've been saying this for years and years and years. Warner Brothers has never known what to do with their DC product. Even though they've owned the brand for so many years, they just keep making individual movies. I mean, they could have had Justice League back in the early '90s when Chris Reeve was still alive, and Keaton could have played Batman, and they could have brought in Linda Carter, who, I mean, come on, everybody considers her the best Wonder Woman, and she would have been in her 30s around that. She still could have been a kick-ass Wonder Woman, and they could have had a Justice
40s,
League
but
movie.
she still looks good even today. So
Even
yeah,
today, John Wesley Shipp as the Flash.
the
So we already had the
Flash.
Flash. All I needed was an Aquaman or a Martian Manhunter. Anyway, gonna get me on a roll here. But yeah, it could have been done. It could. If somebody had the brains, go, hey, you know what? We own all these characters. Why don't we put them all in a movie? I mean, they did a TV pilot that was just freaking awful, but at
Yes.
least there was an attempt. But no, I mean, they already had the perfect cast that could have done. In fact, there was talk of a Justice League movie with George Miller. Speaking of Mad Max, he was down to do a Justice League movie, and they wound up canceling. I mean, he even cast it, and it wound up getting canceled. I'm like, oh, stupid are you people? So
the winding road that we go on these tangents. We went from Sally Field to politics, hard politics, to the Justice League and Michael Keaton as Batman, and Frank Miller. All right. Well, next time,
Hitchcock. That's right. Yeah.
And it should be
Miss
interesting.
Renee, are you gone? Are you here? What happened?
No, I'm here. I'm listening. I thought that was so great when you were talking about DC Comics and you were getting so into it, and I was watching Rory.
I mean,
great.
I'll admit, I've been a Marvel fan from day one since I was a kid. I love their stuff, but I also like DC stuff.
I'm more of a DC fan. So when I see these TV shows come out in the 70s and the 80s, and they're terrible, and then the movies that have come out recently, and they're not up to what the comic books are, it hurts.
Yeah.
But there it is. I mean, they seem to have a better handle on the Marvel universe than they do on the DC universe.
Yeah. And I think it all comes down to one man. Kevin Feige. He, was looking at it and went, look, we have the rights to all these different characters. They eventually team up to form the Avengers. Why not do a series of movies leading up to that team up? Start with Iron Man. And these were those were still considered second tier characters at the time. The top was like Spider-Man. He was and Fantastic Four and all that. But they'd already sold those to different studios, so they had all these other characters.
Sony.
To Sony and to 20th Century Fox, and so he's the one who came up with the plan. Said, we'll start with Iron Man, see how that goes. If it bombs, well, it bombs, and we'll do other things.
We'll still make
billions of
dollars.
But it became a huge hit.
People will be curious.
And of course, Robert Downey Jr. nailed it as Tony Stark, and it was a fun movie. It hit all the right beats. You had Jeff Bridges as the bad guy who turned out to be the bad guy. And then of course you had that ending. You had the post credit sequence with Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and the first mention of the Avengers Initiative, and then you had all the other movies, the Captain America, the Hulk, and you know, uh, Thor, and all those, and they became successful, and each one again building toward the Avengers. So by the time they
Yeah.
did that, everybody was ready for it, and they already kind of established the villain with Loki, and hinted at Thanos and all that stuff, and DC could have done the same thing 20 years, 30 years before that, and that's my big gripe. Is they could have beat Marvel to the punch way earlier, but they didn't. They didn't, and now they're playing catch up, and it fell apart, and it just totally fell apart with the Justice League. So, anyway, that's those are my 2 cents on that topic.
Understood.
Yeah.
Rory, I got to tell you, Manny put his heart and soul into that, and I know that you have passionate opinions, but you're not answering, and now I'm
Well,
too curious.
and again, I just told you, yeah, I'm upset that they haven't done what they should with the DC properties. Again, we got Batman with Adam West and Burt Ward in the 60s, and it worked for its time for what it did. We got Michael Keaton as Batman in 1989, and that actually started actually, you could probably say that Superman with Christopher Reeve in 77, 76, 77 was really the start of that.
Yeah.
But certainly I remember watching the trailer for Batman 1989 when I was young, and so juiced, so excited about seeing that movie, like nothing else before. Okay, maybe Star Wars, but man, I was so juiced up and excited about that movie because everybody was talking about, oh my God, Michael Keaton's going to be Batman, a comedian, and they were, but
And it's funny. Yeah, exactly. Everybody lost their minds because Michael Keaton had been cast as Batman.
That was the time.
I didn't have a problem with that.
When they could have done Wonder Woman, they could have done Flash, other than a TV show. They could have put it all together, but they didn't. They dropped the ball, like you said, and I agree. I agree. I'm furious about that.
Yeah,
And
at the time, even today, the movies and the TV departments were 2 separate worlds. So to have them cross over was really kind of unthinkable at the time.
Yeah.
And really even today, although Marvel is kind of starting to do that with, the shows that have been on Netflix, and bringing those characters in, folding them into the MCU, into the movie MCU.
Well, I mean,
all it would have taken is somebody with a vision, like I said, like Kevin at Marvel, and said, hey, you know what? Like I said, we own these properties; these are ours. We don't have to buy them from anybody. We already own the properties. We know who's popular. We know Linda Carter was popular as Wonder Woman. We know, Keaton, Christopher Reeve. This was before his accident. He could have come back as Superman. In fact, he would have saved us from the horror that was Superman 4 for the quest for peace. In fact, maybe if somebody had a brain, instead of doing Superman 4, that could have been the beginning of the Justice League. That could have led, bring back Keaton, or not bring back, because that would have been before that, but, anyway. Yeah.
And where was Sally Field during all of this?
Right? And where was Sally Field? She could have been.
She could have been the president.
She could have been the president, by golly. Actually,
perfect.
I when they were talking about bringing back Superman, and before they did Superman Returns, and who could have been, who could play Martha Kent, I immediately thought of Sally Field for some reason, and she did wind up being, in a superhero movie of Spider-Man, but I imagined her as Martha Kent. But anyway, that's just me. So
Well, the best Aunt May, the one that was close to the comic, was the one that Tobey Maguire had. She was the
yeah,
closest thing to the real Aunt May as you get.
yeah,
So,
yeah. She looked like the Steve Ditko drawings. Absolutely, yeah,
so in
yeah.
any case, yeah.
Yeah, and recently we lost another fabulous one of the Spider-Man artists, John Romita Sr. passed away I think this week. And he, after Ditko, he came in and started drawing Super Spider-Man and really kind of redefined the character and kind of nailed down the costume as we think of it now, you know. So R.I.P. to him. Anyway.
Well, all right.
I'm
Renee,
here. I'm listening.
you keep
I'm absolutely.
smashing on us. I worry.
No, I the thing
I
is,
get,
you guys are the prime authorities on these topics. And so that's why I said to Rory, because Rory just sat there when you were, and I said, Rory, I know you're passionate about this. And then Rory,
I was letting him have his time.
I know, but you were just as passionate, and I'm saying how great that was. So I was able to come in an arbiter, be an arbiter there, because that was fantastic. Because Rory added all of this amazing stuff, which he always does. I loved it. I thought that was so great that you guys are so passionate about that. You guys know more than anyone. People are always saying that. They'll say there's a new show on where there's these guys and they know everything. People are always saying that to me. I'm like,
not everything, but
you're walking encyclopedias. You guys really do know everything.
You know, it's funny, when I was working at the paper, somebody once said that they gave me the nickname of the vault, because said, man, you know, especially when it comes to music, sometimes they mention, well, there was a song and this and that, and I said, oh, well, that's, you know, Billy Bear and the Beaters or whatever, you know, and they were like,
shout out Billy Bear.
A little shout out to Billy Bear. And I was like, how do you know that? It's like, I don't know, I just know. And same thing with movies. Yeah, well, there was a movie with this guy and did this, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's, you know, Dracula 1972 or something, just to pull a name out of my hat. And they were like, how do you know that? It's like, man, he's the vault. He's the vault.
It's all in the vault. I know. And now Rory's there too. So you guys are like iron sharpening iron.
Rory's definitely a vault as well.
The funniest story I ever heard, I've ever witnessed like that, I was working in a CD shop for like 6 months, and there was a guy there that knew everything. And I mean everything. No matter what you threw at him, he would be able to give you the answer. So anytime somebody came to me and said, and this woman comes in, she says, I want that Mama song. And I was like, the Mama song? And she goes, yeah, that Mama song. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how many songs are there that have Mama in them? 15,000. And I go to this guy, I think his name was Carl. I go to this guy, I said, Carl, this woman here is and I guess it was close to Mother's Day, and that was throwing me off too. I said, this woman wants the Mama song. He goes, oh, Bohemian Rhapsody. She goes, that's it. And
you gotta be
Mama just killed a man. Yeah, the Mama song. Yeah,
that's exactly
I can see how that would be.
He knew it right away. The minute she said Mama
songs.
It's like, Mama, don't let your
again. I was overthinking it.
Mama, don't let your babies. Yeah, you gotta know it.
Yeah, but no.
But there's also isn't there Mama
said? Yeah.
And then like if you go into like rap, like there's tons of Mama songs in rap.
Yeah.
What about Elvis? Didn't Elvis? I feel like Elvis had something with Mama in it.
Probably.
Most likely a lot of them. Was there an Elvis song with Mama in it in the title?
Yeah.
Rory.
Yes, there was. Yes.
See, how could it? See, it could have been.
I think it's the first hits. When he recorded. He came in and just kind of used to do. You could come in and record a track for free. You know, kind of almost like a booth. And yeah, he recorded that song for his mother.
Oh, on her birthday, right? Was that her birthday?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Came in and
Elvis loves his mama. He always loved his mama.
That's right. I love my mama. I love you, Mama.
Yeah, that was one of his first hits.
That's right.
Now it escapes me now when I'm back on camera. Mama, she done told me. Papa done told me too. Boy, that guy you fooling with, she ain't no good for you. Gonna be all right. Mama, it's all right. That's it. Mama, it's all right.
Mama, it's all right. There you go. See?
The
vault.
I knew it. But nothing beats Suspicious Minds. I love Suspicious
yeah.
Minds. It's so great.
We're
You
caught
know
in
who
a
that
trap
inspiration for that
and
was?
go on.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I've always wondered what was the inspiration.
Priscilla was jealous when one of his co-stars, and it was Mary Tyler Moore, came over,
Tell him more.
Oh, Mary,
and she
I figured it'd
was
be
like
Dan
freaking out
Margaret.
about Mary Tyler Moore visiting him at Graceland, and he ended up writing that song because of the fight that came after that.
Wow.
really? I
Yeah.
didn't. I
So it's
didn't.
Mary
Man.
Tyler Moore who was the one
Wow.
that caused that song.
I thought that it was just given to him. I didn't know. I was never aware of how many songs he actually penned himself. Did he do a lot?
He
He
did
some.
some,
A lot of
yeah.
them were, yeah.
Mhm.
Of course, some
Well,
of them
I have respect for
All
him.
Shook Up. He wrote All Shook Up. I know that.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah, a
'cause
lot
I-
of his early songs were remakes of
right.
black artists.
Right,
because
yeah.
they couldn't get
Hound Dog,
on white stations, so Hound Dog.
you know, House
If
Rock.
you listen to the original version, you can tell. Yeah, they
He did his own thing.
Big
with
Mama Thornton's version thunders. It rocks. You know.
Yeah.
Elvis did a good cover, but yeah, nothing beats the original.
it. It's like Pat Boone doing Little Richard.
Yes. Yeah. Long, tall Sally. Yeah.
I'll keep a knocking, but you can't come in. I'll keep a knocking, but you can't come in.
Exactly.
My favorite
Tutti
part of
frutti, don't Rudy. Tutti frutti. Yeah.
Yes. They show that in a movie. Was it Cadillac Records
Yeah.
that they did
Yes.
that?
Cadillac Records. That's right.
Oh, it was
yeah.
hysterical, man.
Oh,
Had somebody doing Pat Boone trying to do those songs. They were he couldn't do it. But they released them. They
Yeah,
released
they
them as
called
Pat
them-
Boone singles.
Yeah.
You can find them. You can probably find them on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
I just wait for the dueling impressions. That's what. Like there's two Elvises, there's two Bill Cosbys. Just do two Sally Fields. I think that'd be great.
You like me. You
really, really like me.
Actually, she doesn't say that. She doesn't say you really, really like that. That's kind of like everybody says, Joe date.
Judy,
He
Judy,
never
Judy.
said that.
It never happens. Or play it again, Sam. Never happens.
Play it again,
That's right, play it
Sham.
again.
There's no
Yeah.
Sam.
You played it for her. You can play it for me. Play it again.
That's it.
How do those
Play it
things
for her,
happen?
you can play it for me. That's what he really
People
did.
misremember. They
He was
misremember.
just, and then it gets into the zeitgeist of life of
Yeah,
itself.
it becomes like Sherlock Holmes never said elementary, dear Watson.
Yeah.
James, Captain Kirk never said beam me up, Scotty. All those things.
Luke, I am your father never happened.
No, that's right. That's right. That's not what he says. Yeah.
Correct.
He just says, I am your father.
Yeah. So then
Your feelings.
We can rule the galaxy together as father and son.
No.
How
It's
dare
impossible.
this needs to be its own show. Like it's just two guys doing impressions and one girl laughing.
The look on his face when he does that scene is just really hysterical.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
it just makes me
Yeah.
laugh every time I
Well,
see it.
I mean, because he had that accident and it just totally fucked up his face. And
Oh.
he still had all the surgical.
Yeah.
You can still see the scars.
Corvette Summer.
Yeah, which is why he. Right. Which is why.
That's why they wrote the whole thing at him getting fixed up with a wampa at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back. Was to make
the wampa,
Yep.
exactly.
That's right.
I thought it smelled
Why
bad
his
on
face
the
looks so
outside.
different?
Sorry, I stepped on your line.
Oh boy. Well, you guys need to tune in tonight because we're having in an hour we're having Burn It Down and Jeffrey Butzer, the other film guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's gonna be the guest.
awesome.
Now, I saw a picture of him. I guess it's with his wife. Is she going to be on the show too, or is it just
It's
going to be
with
Jeffrey?
Claire. Yeah, it's with Claire is going to be on there as well, and then I might pop in at the very end. So you might have up to like 4 people there. We'll see. It's going to be a very
I have
positive.
to pick up my daughter at 9, but we'll see if I can get.
No, just do the replay. Just do the replay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
I'll come in at 9:30 if I can to say, "Hey, you went overtime."
That's enough.
That's what I do.
For you. He always
Mighty
gives
proud of you.
He always gives you a shout out when he goes overtime, and he says, "Rory, I did this for you." I think he'll do it tonight. I think we'll do it tonight.
Well, we're probably going overtime as well. So,
Well,
yeah, let's.
Overtime. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody
Well, we
stick
can-
around.
Yeah, well, we can
you get
skip
him talking about
the
DC
bad
Comics.
reviews.
It's
Yeah,
the
that's
DC
my fault.
Comics.
I got in a roll about DC Comics.
I love it. No, I think it's great. But
So we'll
remember,
do the bad
everybody,
reviews next time.
Hitchcock is going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central
10 p.m.,
next
right,
week.
right.
Everybody remembers a different time.
Yeah,
And we'll go deep into Hitchcock. That's a perfect time slot to talk about Hitchcock.
yeah.
Yes.
And in fact, that's one of my favorite porn movies, by the way. Is Deep into Hitchcock.
It will be perfect.
That's right.
Oh,
We will discuss more things about murder.
Oh my gosh, it's like eerily accurate. Wait, do the profile. Both of you do the profile, and I want to see which one looks more like Hitchcock. Wow, I don't know, guys. We'll have people vote on that.
I look more like Bob Hope though with the ski stick.
Hey guys.
Thanks for the memories, folks.
Thanks for the memories. Next, we got Anne Margaret.
That's where I got that from.
Yeah.
That's where Orbison got that from.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What do you think, Bob? Well, I got to tell you.
We're
gonna have a rockin'
where
good time.
haven't we gone to yet?
We're gonna go to the moon now.
Rory,
They never went to space.
They should.
Rory, did they ever keep up on Clubhouse with the impressions room? Because like Manny and you would be great there. They didn't keep up.
They have not called me back to come back.
I don't think they're still.
So I don't think they're doing. They were only getting audiences of like 10, 15, you know.
Okay.
So the room wasn't doing as well as we would hope. There would be more impressionists in the room than guests, than audience
It
members.
was still entertaining, though. It was.
I
very,
loved it. I
very
enjoyed the hell out of it. I'd pick
Yeah,
out
I
what I was going to do.
Mhm.
And yeah, we do like 10 or 15 voices.
You guys should do an impression show that's its
I
own.
met a lot of nice people
That would be great.
from there.
Yeah.
That's where I met Billy Vera and Eddie Brill.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Billy Bird too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Facebook user.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Thank you very much.
Here in Cadillac. He's good.
We enjoy
Thank you.
enjoy
Sonny,
having
get
you
to
too.
Cadillac.
Time for a peanut butter and banana sandwich. So.
That was the main
First
thing.
hour.
Yeah. Peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Peanut butter and banana, man. That's what I go for.
That's right, man. Yep. Oh man,
Peanut butter and banana sandwich, baby. That hits the spot, man. I like those at 2:00 in the morning.
Have you ever seen
Yes,
seen
Rob.
clips of him being goofy? Like Elvis knows how to be goofy, and when he is, like, he kind of laughs at himself every now and then. You can tell, like, he sort of gets it.
Well, that's that famous where he does the live version of one of his songs. Trying to think of it.
Are you
Where
talking about when he sits at the piano and
where
the
he
guy?
talks about somebody's bald head instead of.
What did he say?
He changed the lyrics to something about a bald head. Somebody's bald head.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and also when he does the thing when he's like, something the matter with my lip. Something the matter with my lip. Like he pretends.
Yeah, I'll point to that.
He does little bits sometimes.
Yeah. He did a whale thing where he picked up the microphone like a spirit, like a harpoon. It's like, where's she blowing? I don't think he said baby, but
yeah.
he does crazy stuff on stage when he's stoned.
Rory, when you had John Biner on the show, Biner told a really great story about how Elvis was fucking with him backstage.
Yes.
Just sort of like, busting balls with him. And, Biner was actually intimidated at first and kind of worried about it. And then he looks back and sees Elvis like laughing,
Yeah.
It's an interesting.
Yeah, he was doing an impression of Elvis at the time in his Vegas act. So Elvis and his entourage shows up because somebody had told him about it. And yeah, they just busted Biner's balls for a little while.
Like this is really.
I saw that impression you did of me, man. I saw it. Yeah, man, that's wrong, man.
And then he was just like doing it to screw with him.
And Biner was just like, "Oh my God, I've just upset the king of rock and roll. Jeez, there's my career."
And the
It's
Memphis
over.
Mafia was right there, like in
Yeah,
found him in Vegas. It was in Vegas, you know.
Yeah.
And they
So
they walked away from him, and then they said that Elvis couldn't broke character, and he's
Just
pointing
laughing.
at him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then he
I
realized,
looked it up.
He's messing with me. He's
The
messing with me.
song that I was thinking of is "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" It does a live
Oh,
version.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
standing
Are
there
you
in the stage
lonesome tonight?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a monologue, and I've forgotten it, so I'm gonna just say stuff now.
There you go. Exactly.
I
What am
cannot believe that
Too
he
much
left
talking.
this earth when he did. He, Michael Jackson, these icons, it's like they get around maybe not the most supportive inner group who could have looked out. You know, there's documentaries about, you know, people say different things. Who really knows? But to me, it's like a tragedy because some of these great people, they could have been here. You know, they could have still been here. And then John Lennon, of course, you think of Lennon, and it's so awful.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
God,
it could have been worse. He could have died in a plane crash, like Buddy Holly. And
I know, the
John
Big
Denver
Bopper,
and
Richie
Big
Valens. Can you believe it? Yeah.
You know, and you would think after Buddy Holly that, you know, singers was like, you know, let's stay away from small private
Let's
planes.
not be on the
Let's take
private
a bus.
planes. No more.
Although Leonard Skinner, you know, half their crew died, you know, in a commercial airline. So
Well, Croce died on a commercial airline too, didn't he?
yeah, Croce, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Well, he died in a helicopter crash. So I mean,
I know Otis Redding died in a private plane, I believe.
yeah,
I think it was a private plane.
So all you rock and rollers out there, stay away from planes. Take a train.
All planes.
Take a bus. You never hear of an actor dying in a bus
Denver.
crash.
Just take
John
the bus.
Denver was a pilot. He went to pilot and then he went down.
Yeah, John Denver, exactly.
JFK Jr., of course, and his
JFK
family.
Jr. died in a small crash. Yeah, small plane crash.
So there you go. So rock and rollers, take a train, take a bus.
Except for a lot of road accidents have happened as well. There's different bands that have been taken out by road crashes. I think they just need to stay in one place. If you're a band, just stay in your garage and beam through the internet. There's no reason to go on.
Actually, you've never heard of a rock band dying in their van. You know, when they went from gig to gig.
I've never heard of them dying in a bus crash.
So,
I think
or a bus crash.
I think they have. I think
oh, actually, no.
For Squirrels went out that way. They were a 90s group.
Yeah.
But I thought Leonard Skinner.
No, that was a plane crash.
Okay, that was a plane. I know there was a wrestler who died, a famous wrestler who died on the road, and I'm forgetting now who that is. Roddy Piper knew him, and it was like a big deal. I think it took out 3 wrestlers because they used to go on the roads back and forth.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
This is an interesting.
If you're a rock and roll star, stay home. Do everything by remote.
There's no reason to get in. Don't get in a car. Don't get in a
vehicle of any kind.
And there's
social media shows.
Issues. Now
do social media shows.
Exactly. Just do social media shows.
Just stay at home. Just stay at home. There's no reason.
It's totally.
Is it a harpoon? That was like a harpoon that came in.
Exactly.
Oh no, Rory.
Totally safe here.
Now, how did that? Was that a ghost? Was that a? I think that was a phantom that did that.
Oh my goodness.
Stay safe, everybody. Keep an eye out for those big monsters.
Keep an eye out for
different show.
We need a sign off for this show. What could it be? It could be like, keep an eye out.
We say an hour out at an hour and a half.
now we're thinking about but before we go, I gotta say, and maybe we can talk about this after the show. But well, of course, there's always somebody. Rory led me down a rabbit hole of Ginger Dead Man. Well, not Rory, but Major General Hazard. General Howitzer. Let me get the names right. General Howitzer led me down a rabbit hole of Ginger Dead Man movies this weekend.
Did you watch them?
I watched 1, 2, and 3, and I watched Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong.
No, you
So-
did not.
Really?
I did.
No, you did
That's
not.
funny.
did.
Yes.
I feel so sorry for you.
And my favorite is Ginger Dead Man 3, where they go back in time to the 70s to the roller disco.
Oh, dude.
I can't even believe it.
Ginger Dead Man goes back in time. Yeah,
Yes.
back when Gary Busey was playing Buddy Holly. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. He's
And I
a cookie
like the
man.
way
He's killed people.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still gonna kill people. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I got me a knife. I'm gonna kill somebody.
Oh man.
Catch me if you can. I'm a Ginger Dead Man.
I'll stab you.
I
Go
got a
hands.
gun. I got a gun. Shoots
I got a gun.
28 shots.
Oh my gosh.
There's a movie where he uses a nail gun. I think it's the third one. He uses a nail gun to kill like some people who are.
Now, see, that's
Warning.
probably got 28 shots in it.
Oh yeah, and he's just going nuts. Oh yeah.
I got me a nail gun. Oh,
I got
man.
me.
That was
I'm
in
gonna nail
part 3.
ya. That was 3. Yeah.
Part 3. I'm gonna have to see part
Part
3.
3. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Saturday Night Cleaver.
Night Cleaver.
Saturday Night Cleaver. Oh.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a killing cookie man. That's how I talk.
That is way more clever than anything in that movie. So congratulations.
They should get me to do the voice of the Ginger Dead Man.
They should if they bring him back.
I can do the Ginger Dead Man's voice, man. I can do it. I kill people. I'm a Ginger Dead Man.
There you go. Exactly. That's all you need to say throughout the whole movie. Some snarky, you know.
I'll get stoned and I'll do the voices. What does
Hollywood, are you
Evil Bong
listening?
sound like?
Huh?
What does Evil Bong sound like? I
Evil
gotta see one of
Bong
those.
sounds like
It's a woman, right?
it's a woman. It's a female. Yeah, it's like sounds like a pissed off black woman. Sorry about the offensive, stereotype there, but yeah, it sounds like an angry black woman.
I
Yeah,
thought it would
honey,
sound
I'm
like
gonna show
Seinfeld's
you.
mother or
I'm gonna get you
something.
so high. Man, no. This is so wrong.
All right, I won't try to do that voice then.
No, don't. No, stick with Ginger Dead Man. Yeah,
I'll just stick with Gary Busey. He's a
There you
Ginger Dead Man. Yeah, man.
yeah, man.
Got me an L gun. I'm at the party.
Yes.
I need a drink.
Is anyone for
Give me
Full
some
Moon
chocolate
watching
milk,
this?
man. I'm a Ginger Dead Man. I'm gonna kill people.
Come on, you folks at Full Moon. There you go. There's your next Ginger Dead Man right there. There, give Rory the job.
Charles Ben, you know you're gonna make 10 more of those movies. Yeah, I'm right here.
Exactly.
I'm right here. You don't even have to pay me a lot.
Come
You
on,
know,
come
just
on,
pay
man.
me scale. I'm good.
Yeah.
Just get the credit on IMDb.
So I
haven't
take
done
it you
anything
didn't
on
see any,
IMDb in a
any
while.
of the other Ginger Dead Man movies, right? Did you just see the first one?
I haven't seen any of the others except for the first one. I only saw because of Gary.
The second one, they actually kind of spoof the first one because it takes place, or actually they spoof themselves, the whole Full Moon production. So it takes place on a movie set of Cheatham Pictures, and it's just
perfect.
My God. Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. This is ridiculous as it sounds. So.
And the special effects guys bring back the Ginger Dead Man by accident, right?
No, actually, this sort of former. I don't know if she was anyway. This very bosomy woman brings this big pink box, and yes, there is a joke about that, and it contains a new Ginger Dead Man who comes back to life and starts killing, and he tries to do this ritual where it's going to bring it. It's definitely, obviously, a spoof of the Chucky movies, where he's trying to reverse the spell and bring himself back to life as a real boy. And anyway, it's bad. It's really bad. So, they're all bad. It's just goofy. Yeah, you just gotta watch them.
3 was amusing enough to watch.
Yes, 3 was definitely amusing enough to watch. Them. There's the movie begins with a spoof of Silence of the Lambs, and they even have this actress that looks and sounds like Jodie Foster,
funny,
with a really bad wig, and then Gingerbread he escapes, there's this lab where they're doing time travel experiments, and he gets a hold of the time travel device, and he winds up back in the 70s, and the rest of the movie pretty much takes place in the 70s.
Which is
At this roller,
Austin Powers,
yeah,
gold member.
exactly.
Too funny, man.
Renee,
Yeah, and in the Evil Bong ones, there is a wrestler who does the voice of in both of those. He does. That's the only time a guy has done the voice twice, and it was in the one where Ginger Dead Man is in the Evil Bong movies.
yeah. And the Gingerbread Dead Man versus Evil Bong, the first like 20-25 minutes is them recapping the previous.
They're showing footage from those two movies
from the Evil Bong movies, and then they spend another 20 minutes recapping the Ginger Dead Man movies, and then like 10 minutes of actual like killing and what have you. And there's only like 2 or 3 murders in the whole thing.
Ginger Dead Man was like an hour long movie, and then they had like 10 minutes of credits on it.
Yeah,
it was an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, this was like an hour and 20 minutes or so of recapping the previous movies. I'm like, wow, that
video.
that's a way to kill some screen time. Man. And then another 20 minutes of two stoners.
Didn't lose a lot of time.
Kind of like we're doing here.
Hour and 36 minutes. Where's Sally Field during all this?
We did like 30 minutes of Sally Field, and the rest of it's just been.
Really? I thought the show was going to end early. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Renee, what was I thinking?
Renee, save us.
We're at hour 37
I'm enjoying it too much. Why did I pull the plug when I'm being entertained? This is why I think it's hysterical.
Oh,
it's awesome.
The
You
stream
guys
of consciousness is out of control.
Okay, here's what we're going to do.
Other shows?
Okay, Rory, you're going to talk about It's Casual.
Okay.
For tomorrow, and then Manny, you're going to talk about Outside the Lines coming up, and Pi and Transworld Airwaves. So Rory first is going on tomorrow.
Tomorrow on It's Casual, we got comedian, author, historian Mike Vance from Texas.
It's all about like the Houston like a massacre in Houston. It's all this deep Texas history. So Manny, you're going to want to, and I think that's so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does. He did a book about comedy and hanging out with. I mean, again, Houston, Texas is legendary for some of the greatest comics. Bill Hicks, Sam Kinison, just a wonderful hotspot of comedy. And he was in the thick of it. And I worked with him. He went to the Cayman Islands with me and Michael Wilson, who was on our second show. On the phone, unfortunately, couldn't get the show to work on his phone, the StreamYard. But finally got Mike Vance to agree to come on the show, and he's going to be on tomorrow. He's going to talk about his books. He's going to talk about the old comedy days. Who knows what he's going to talk about? He's really into sports. He's a huge sports fan, so he's really into Texas sports. He's written 2 books on that. On Texas sports and history. He's written a couple of true crime books.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he did fiction.
Yeah. Too. So you haven't seen all the book covers yet. I'm going to release another poster tonight.
I didn't know he was that prolific. That's incredible.
Yeah. And he was part of a band too that he wrote a book about.
Wow. Very
I don't think they took bus trips though.
No. Don't do that. And that's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay, yes. So then, Manny, do you want to talk a little bit about Pi and Transworld Airwaves?
Yes. I'm working with our good friend Dennis Tardon on a couple of shows, helping him produce them. One is called Pi and I, where Dennis has conversations with an artificial intelligence chatbot named Pi. And we're also going to premiere in the very near future, we hope, a show called Transworld Airwaves, where we discuss transgender issues, and hopefully we'll have some guests that are part of that community and to talk about their stories. And Outside the Lines, we'll have another episode of that here soon. Topic to be determined, TBD. Yeah, so we have some shows coming up, and of course,
Yeah.
the continuing saga of two guys and sometimes a gal rambling on and on about things that are not
Anything but Sandy. From now on,
anything.
you know what? We're going to entitle each episode like this. This title said Sally Field, but really, what it should be is in parentheses anything except Sally Field. Anything except Sinbad. Anything except Hitchcock. I think that'd be funny. I'm not going to do it, but
No, don't do that.
Dun,
And
dun.
normally at this time we would do some bad reviews, but we decided not to. Well, we just we
Sally Field. No, I
Well, we
gone-
couldn't find any bad reviews for
I
Sally.
thought
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
I
so-
thought of it, and I did delve in, and I'll tell you, it's almost impossible to find a neg other than her acceptance speech, and we did talk about that. But other than that,
Yeah,
nobody has
exactly.
a problem with Sally Field. She's like squeaky clean. Everybody loves her.
Right, exactly. You don't hear any scandals about her.
No,
you
there's
know,
no scandals. There's nothing. So
she's,
so we'll do that next
you know,
week.
coming out of
Hitchcock.
rehab or anything like that. So
there's no skeletons in her closet, but I think next week I'll bring some negative and some positive reviews. I mean, Hitchcock, of course, he's a lot of people have visceral reactions to a lot of his work. A lot of people hate Hitchcock. I've met people who just hate him and think that, and then there are people who, of course, adore him. And he's just a very influential director.
right,
He's taught in many schools,
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
Yeah, he's terrorized multiple generations.
Yes, he
I
has.
can't even be around a flock of seagulls anymore without going, it's gonna happen. Birds.
So you ran so far away.
Yippee.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Good night.
Why are you
Can't top that.
Why are you just sitting there, Rory?
I can't top it.
I thought that Rory was gonna say something. All right, good. You're right. We should go out on that note. What is that? There you go.
My flock of seagulls haircut.
Oh, flock of seagulls. Yeah. Okay, we can just keep going with flock of seagulls references. Okay, everyone just hang out because we're going to be right back with Tom Cheshire and Jeffrey Butzer and Claire, and it's going to be an amazing thing. I'll jump on at the end most likely, and we'll see you guys there. And again tomorrow at It's Casual.
That's right.
Mhm.
All right. Sorry, Sally Field, we didn't like you enough. We liked you, but we didn't really like you. We just
We
liked
like you for 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
We love you, Sally.
We moved on to
We love
DC
you. We don't just like you, we love you.
Oh, and on that note, we love you, Sally Field.